travellers, so today we're off to the Isle of Wight to explore one of its most iconic sites, which is the Needles. The Needles are actually one of the most photographed groups of rocks in the whole world. And unfortunately, the rock that gave the group its name, due to its resemblance to a needle in shape, collapsed during the Great Storm of 1764. However, the name the Needles stuck. No blog of mine would be complete without a trip to one of the best local coffee shops. So this one isn't exactly local, but we did pass it en route. This is Cafe Isola, I think is how you pronounce it, and it's based in Newport, which is the county town of the Isle of Wight. Cafe Isola is an artisan cafe that also roasts its own coffee on site. It's a family business and has been running on the Isle of Wight for over 20 years now. It's also a great place to get some last minute gifts if you want to buy some souvenirs to take home or buy as presents. They had some really quirky little items to have a look at. I was very tempted to get one of these cups with the animals inside. If they'd have had a cat one, I think they would have sold me. So here we are at the Needles, which is in Alum Bay. And the first thing that you should see when you get here is the glass shop. So before you visit anything, you want to go to the ticket office and work out how many things you want to go to and get the appropriate tickets, because you do get a discount for buying bulk tickets. Individually, I think it costs about £2 to come and watch the glass blowing, where you can walk around the factory and see live demonstrations of how they make all these glass items. Alum Bay Glass is one of the Isle of Wight's longest established glass makers, being set up in 1972. I still massively regret not buying this light pink swan. I still think about it now, and if I go back to the Isle of Wight and it's still there, which is very unlikely, I am definitely going to get it.
It's so elegant.
I also really love this bright yellow glass. I thought it was very unusual. It's quite rare to see such a bright sunny colour in glass. I'm quite into colour therapy, and I feel yellow always lifts the mood and makes you feel much happier and sunnier and lighter. I always feel it when I have sunflowers around, so I would definitely be tempted to get a yellow piece as well. And I also found this coated silver glass very interesting as well. He did actually show us how to make that in the workshop. Here is a little look around the workshop, where you can watch many of the designs that you can purchase in the shop be made live.
The cloth cups will be made into the sort of fridge magnets. That's away those creases. The reason I'm going to melt those creases away is that if I go back in there to gather more glass over the top, rotation, drain the excess away from the end as much as I can. Now I've got two bits of glass, and they're at different temperatures. So before I can actually blow it, I need them to balance in heat. So that second bit of glass there in the skin of that second bit. Not too much. And then while there's still some heat there, we're going to stretch the piece. Produce one of the harder colours. I've actually managed to keep that traffic effect marked out there, which is pretty good. They don't take long to make, but they take a long time to learn. This is sort of 5 to 7 years to learn the basics. It's nice colour though. Yeah.
Another must-do whilst at Alum Bay is to visit the sand shop. The sand shop has got these little plastic and glass shaped bottles that you can fill up with the 21 different shades of sand that are found in Alum Bay. You can either make your own, or they have some ready filled ones as well if you don't trust yourself to be able to make one that's beautiful enough. So this has been a tradition since the mid-1800s, when Queen Victoria was presented with a special souvenir of sand in a bottle. I'm not sure how long this specific shop has been here, but I actually remember coming here when I was a child. So it's definitely been here a long time. I don't know if it's the original shop. I really struggled to find any more information on it. Maybe if you know, you can tell me in the comments. I actually even remember buying a bell when I was a child, or having a bell bought by me by my parents, and I have no idea where it is. I must find it. They have a whole strip of different shops, including food shops, souvenir shops, an amusement arcade, a cinema, and a few other things to do. They also have a crazy golf course and a go-karting course as well. And then, of course, the chairlifts, which take you down to Alum Bay. And they've been running now for 52 years. They also have a staircase normally, so you can choose whether to walk down or get the chairlifts. However, unfortunately, part of the staircase has actually collapsed, and they say it's now unsafe to use. So the only way to get down to Alum Bay at this point in time is the chairlifts. I'm actually a little bit afraid of heights. Even though I'm an adventurer, I'm a bit afraid of heights and enclosed spaces. So I had to overcome a fear for this one to get down to the bay. I'm glad I did though, as I get to show you the absolutely breathtaking views as you go over on the chairlift down towards Alum Bay. Not good for people with a fear of heights. Don't look down. He stopped it. Of course it decided to stop when I was up there, but it soon got on its way again. I think there's been no accidents in its entire 52 years, so I think I'm pretty safe. The chairlift is quite expensive in my opinion. It's £10 for a return ticket for an adult and £6 one way, which you can't even use at the moment because they won't let you use the stairs. So you basically pay £10 to use the chairlift. There are some Super Saver tickets where you can pay £12 and you get 15 tickets that are worth £1 each, which is definitely worth it if you're looking to do a few things. If you look to the right here, you can see the original staircase, which you used to be able to use to get down to the coast as well. Alum Bay Beach is famous for its cliffs and its myriad of natural colours. The multicoloured sand is actually composed of quartz, feldspar and mica combined with other materials which have created this rainbow-like effect of red, white, grey and yellow layers. We decided to take one of the boat trips to look at the rocks and the lighthouse, Boat trips run throughout the season and offer you close-up views of the Needles Rocks and the Lighthouse. Weather permitting, they run 7 days a week from 10:30 a.m. So you can choose the faster high-speed cruise, which you could see was more expensive, or you can take the 20-minute cruise, which runs you round past the rocks and the Lighthouse and is £9 return. The Needles forms the western tip of a band of chalk that at the time was believed to have connected the Isle of Wight to Dorset's Isle of Purbeck and Old Harry Rocks, which is around 20 miles away. In 5000 BC, the ridge was breached by the River Solent, which created the Isle of Wight, with the jagged white rocks at its western tip. The remaining rocks are made of hard chalk that is more resistant to erosion, hence why they are still standing. Originally there were 4 rocks, and you can actually see the gap where one of the rocks is missing. The missing rock was called Lot's Wife and was shaped like a needle and was very tall and thin. Lot's Wife was named after the story of Lot's wife from Genesis in the Bible, which recorded her being turned into a pillar of salt as a punishment for looking back when she was told not to whilst fleeing from the destruction of Sodom. Lot's wife stood at 120 feet and was the tallest of the 4 rocks. It collapsed in the Great Storm of 1764, and the impact of which is said to have been felt in Portsmouth. The National Trust purchased the Needles in 1975. So I did manage to find these old drawings which roughly show you what Lot's wife and the missing Needles rock would have looked like.
4 keepers living on there full time, and they did about a month on. Obviously with no one living out here, the light does require checks and maintenance, and the helipad gives the its position where it is, marking the most westerly point of the Isle of Wight. And one side of the a column of chalk, and some say it had a hole through the top, so that was the one that looked like a needle. Unfortunately, due to its shape and size, very vulnerable to the winter storms, and sure enough, some 200 years ago it got knocked over and washed away. But as is so often the case, the name just stuck.
The Victorian lighthouse that we just went past was built to replace the old lighthouse from 1785, which was on the cliffs overhanging Scratchell's Bay. The height of the old lighthouse meant it was very often shrouded in mist and visibility was very difficult. Other lighthouses on the Isle of Wight also share a similar problem. The Needles Lighthouse that stands today was built in 1859 and cost £20,000, which was actually quite a large sum in those days. The engineers used dynamite to create a platform in the chalk stack and to provide a huge water tank, coal store and cellars. This meant that the lighthouse could be manned even when the weather was too bad to send supplies out. The lighthouse originally had a staff rotation of 3 keepers who kept 24-hour watches during their month-long tours of duty. Conditions could often get very bad when the weather was rough, and the lighthouse keepers were often cut off for weeks at a time, and they really had to fend for themselves. There's a record that one keeper was making a call on the telephone at 40 feet up when a wave came through the window and washed his breakfast off the table. The lighthouse is now fully automated and the crew have left, but there is a helipad at the top for emergency access.
Okay, so there we are, the coloured sands of Alum Bay. 21 different colours, so they say, 6 or 7 main ones I suppose, the colours being caused by the different minerals contained within the sand. Originally laid down horizontally, as you would expect, it was sedimentary rock in the basin of an ancient river. But at another point in time, due to a massive movement of the Earth's crust, it all got sort of rolled onto its side, or stood up if you like, which is why the strata is now vertical. Looking good this time of year. They've had a good scrub from the winter storms that erodes the surface and exposes cleaner, brighter sand behind.
So we got the chairlift back to the top and then threw a penny to make a wish, or a few pennies. And afterwards we went to the Drunken Lobster in Ventnor, which is definitely my favourite restaurant on the whole of the Isle of Wight. I haven't been anywhere else where the food is as tasty. I love the venue as well. It's small but very cute, and it's a cocktail bar and Japanese grill. We had some really delicious little tapas dishes. So there was some sushi. I think this was some kind of fried turnip and some salad. And then we had some fish goujons and these little tiny sushi rolls. Everything was, yes, super tasty and very, very delicious. I highly recommend this restaurant.